I met Zion on a Thursday. I was sipping coffee at a bookstore cafe, sketching on a napkin, headphones in, when someone tapped my shoulder. Are you always this focused when you draw, or just when you're pretending not to notice me? I looked up. He was smiling. White shirt, messy hair, warm eyes, and just enough charm in his voice to make my stomach flip. I pulled one earbud out and smiled. That depends. Are you always this confident when talking to strangers? Only when the stranger looks like trouble. He sat across from me without asking. And just like that he entered my life like a spark. Quick, warm, and unexpected. Zion was different. Or at least that's what I told myself. He listened. He remembered small things. The way I took my tea. My obsession with tragic romance novels. That I hummed when I was nervous. He wasn't just handsome. He was magnetic. The kind of man who looked at you like you were the only person in the room. The kind who made the world feel quieter when he said your name. Our first kiss happened after our third date. Rain pouring. My hair soaked. His jacket over my shoulders. We stood outside my apartment, neither of us moving. I should go, I whispered. You don't want me to, he replied, voice low, close to my lips. I didn't. I kissed him first. He kissed me like he'd been waiting for years. Hands in my hair. My back pressed against the wall. Mouths open. Hearts racing. It wasn't polite. It was real. And when he finally pulled away, he rested his forehead against mine. God, Mira, he breathed. You're going to ruin me. We started spending almost every night together. He'd cook for me, barefoot in my kitchen, singing old Bollywood songs off-key. We made love like it was art. Slow, raw, full of laughter and whispered promises. He traced poems down my spine with his fingertips. Called me John when I cried after bad dreams. Held me like he was afraid I'd disappear. For the first time in my life I felt safe. Desired. I told myself this was what love was supposed to feel like. Not perfect. But honest. Grounded in connection. Zion talked about our future like it was inevitable. You'll paint in a sunroom, he'd say. I'll write somewhere quiet. We'll have messy mornings and slow coffee and a little boy who looks just like you. I believed him. Because he made it easy to. One night I woke up and found him sitting on the floor of my living room. In the dark, scrolling through his phone. He didn't notice me at first. But I noticed the expression on his face. Like guilt had hands. And they were around his throat. When he looked up and saw me, he smiled too fast. Couldn't sleep. Just checking emails. I nodded. But something shifted inside me. A chill I couldn't explain. A question I didn't want to ask. So I ignored it. Because love makes you quiet sometimes. Softens your instincts. And Zion made me feel like I was finally home. But homes can burn. Even when the fire starts in someone else's hands. It started small. A change in rhythm. Zion stopped answering my calls during the day. Work's been crazy, he'd say. His replies came slower. His voice softer. Still warm but distant. Like someone had turned the volume down on what we were. He still kissed me. Still touched me like I mattered. But something about his eyes changed. He wasn't present anymore. Not fully. And I felt it. The way only a woman in love can feel a silence that hasn't been spoken yet. I tried to brush it off. People get tired. People get stressed. He was still mine, wasn't he? One night I picked up his hoodie from the floor while cleaning. His phone buzzed on the coffee table. Once. Twice. Then again. The name on the screen lit up. Tsna. No last name. Tsna. I wasn't proud of what I did next. But love mixed with fear turns into something primal. I tapped the screen. The message preview slid up. Missed you today. Same time tomorrow. I dropped the phone like it had burned me. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay beside him in the dark, staring at the ceiling while he breathed softly beside me. Peaceful like a man with nothing to hide. I wanted to wake him. Shake him. Scream. Instead I whispered into the silence. Do you still love me? He stirred. Of course I do. But he didn't open his eyes. And I knew then he was lying. The next morning I made chai like I always did. I packed his lunch. Kissed his cheek. Watched him walk out the door like it wasn't killing me. Then I waited. And followed. Zion didn't go to work. He drove across the city, parked outside a small art gallery I'd never seen before. And she was there. Elegant. The kind of woman who smelled expensive and laughed like she'd never been lied to. They didn't kiss. But they hugged. Close. Familiar. Too familiar. He placed a hand on the small of her back. And she leaned into it. I sat in my car, fingers clenched around the steering wheel, trying to swallow the feeling of my entire chest caving in. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I needed to know everything. Over the next week, the picture became clearer. He met her 3 times. Twice during the day. Once late at night claiming a client dinner. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't dramatic. He was careful. Which hurt more. Because it meant this wasn't a mistake. This was a choice. When I finally asked him, calm, cold, almost scarily steady, he didn't deny it. He just said, "It's not what you think." I laughed. "So you're not sleeping with her?" Silence. "I didn't plan for this to happen," he said. "I didn't go looking." "Stop," I whispered. "Don't insult me with poetry." He reached for me. I stepped back. "Why her?" I asked, not even sure why I cared. He looked down. "She made me feel like a better version of myself." That's when my heart finally broke. Because I had given him everything. My body. My mornings. My faith. And he still wanted more. That night he slept on the couch. I sat on the kitchen floor holding the mug he once bought me, the one that said, "You're my favorite chapter." It slipped from my hand. Shattered. And I didn't pick it up. The next morning he was gone. Just like that. No note. No apology. Only an empty toothbrush holder and a silence that roared. The first thing I noticed was the silence. No keys jingling at the door. No hum of his voice in the bathroom. No smell of his cologne in the air. Just absence. Zion was gone. And I was alone. People talk about heartbreak like it's always loud. Crying. Screaming. Throwing things. But mine was quiet. I still made tea in the morning. 1 cup, not 2. Still wore the oversized hoodie he left behind. Still walked past his toothbrush holder like it hadn't been empty for days. But inside, everything ached. Word spread fast. He didn't just disappear from me. He disappeared from everyone. Deleted his social media. Changed his number. Moved in with her. Probably. I didn't ask. Didn't want the confirmation. Because knowing would rip open wounds I was trying desperately to keep closed. Friends came and went. "You're so strong," they said. "He didn't deserve you. You'll find someone better." I smiled. Nodded. Light. Because deep down, I still missed him. I missed the version of him that loved me. The way he touched my face when I was sad. The way he whispered, "You feel like home," into my neck. I missed the man he pretended to be. One night I found a note he left under my pillow months ago. I don't know why I hadn't seen it before. You make the world softer. And I don't know if I deserve that. But God, I hope I never lose it. I stared at the ink until it blurred. Tore it in half. Then again. Then again. Until there was nothing left to read. Just fragments of promises that never meant anything. Grief is strange. Some days I couldn't stop crying. Other days I was angry. Furious. How could someone hold your body in their hands and still lie to your face? How do you love someone so deeply and still not see who they really are? Was I blind? Naive? Or just hopeful? Weeks passed. I painted again, slowly, quietly. Brush in hand, music low, tears sometimes slipping down without warning. Each stroke was a release. Of him. Of us. Of the dream I thought we were building. One afternoon I saw him. At the grocery store. He looked thinner. Tired. Older somehow. Our eyes met. Just for a second. He didn't smile. Neither did I. He didn't walk over. Neither did I. Because that chapter was closed. Not perfectly. Not painlessly. But finally. That night I went home. Lit a candle. Opened the windows. And did something I hadn't done since he left. I danced. Alone. Barefoot. In the kitchen. Laughing at nothing. Free. Not healed. Not yet. But on my way. Because sometimes love isn't about finding the one who completes you. It's about surviving the one who almost destroyed you. It had been 73 days. I knew because I'd counted. Not out loud. Not to anyone. But in my heart, the way only someone betrayed keeps track of time. 73 days since Zion walked out of my life. And just when I stopped waiting for a knock on the door, it came. I opened it slowly, expecting a delivery. Maybe a neighbor. But when I saw him, every ounce of healing I'd stitched together suddenly went taut. Zion. Same eyes. Same scent. But different. He looked like someone who hadn't been sleeping. Mira, his voice cracked. What do you want? He hesitated. Can I come in? No. We stood there, the door between us barely open, just enough to let the past breathe. I just need 5 minutes. I crossed my arms. You left. You don't get 5 minutes. I know, he said. But I've carried this weight every single day. And I can't live with myself if I don't say it. I opened the door a little more. Talk. He didn't step inside. Just stood in the doorway like he knew he didn't deserve my space anymore. I made the worst mistake of my life, he said. And not just cheating, but lying. Pretending I could have 2 hearts and still be whole. You didn't just break my heart, I said. You made me question my worth. My instincts. My love. He closed his eyes. I know. There was a silence between us that felt like a scream. Why are you here, Zion? Because I lost something real. And I needed you to know, it wasn't about her. It was about me. I was broken and instead of fixing myself I ran. I took a deep breath. You said you felt like a better version of yourself with her. I lied, he said. I felt like someone else. I was me. And I hated myself too much to stay. That one hurt. More than I expected. You didn't just leave, I whispered. You chose to leave. Every lie, every message, every look. You chose her over me. I didn't know what love looked like until I saw the absence of yours. I looked at him. And for the first time in months, I didn't ache. I felt sorry. But not for him. For me. For the girl who begged to be enough for a man who wasn't even whole himself. I don't hate you, I said. His eyes watered. That's worse. Good, I whispered. And gently, finally, I closed the door. That night I didn't cry. I sat by the window watching the streetlights flicker and felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Power. Not over him. Over myself. Because I could have let him back in. I could have let that voice pull me into another chapter of grief disguised as romance. But I didn't. And that choice was everything. 2 days later I mailed him something. No note. No signature. Just a copy of the painting I'd finished the week before. A woman standing barefoot in the rain, holding a red umbrella over her head. Alone. Smiling. At peace. I didn't need him to understand it. I just needed him to know. I survived. 6 months later I no longer looked for him. Not in coffee shops. Not in passing cars. Not in songs that used to remind me of us. Zion became a closed chapter. Not ripped out, not erased. Just turned. I didn't hate him anymore. Because he wasn't the ending. He was just the plot twist that showed me who I really was. I started saying yes to life again. Yes to morning walks. Yes to art exhibits I used to visit with him, now alone. Yes to laughter that didn't need to be quiet. Yes to taking myself out to dinner in heels and red lipstick for no one but me. I didn't date. Not yet. Because for the first time in years, I didn't need someone to validate my softness. I learned how to be enough for me. One day I walked into a bookstore, the same one where I met Zion. But this time no one stopped me. No one flirted. No one interrupted. I sat alone with a cappuccino and a sketch pad. And I felt full. Whole. I started a small art series called The Women Who Stayed. Paintings of women in quiet strength. Standing in empty rooms. Looking out at oceans. Sitting beneath skies they chose for themselves. Each one told a story. My story. People noticed. It grew. And when a local gallery offered to feature me I said yes without hesitation. On the night of the opening I stood in a black silk dress, my hair curled, lips painted deep red. I greeted strangers who cried in front of my canvases. And when one woman hugged me with tears in her eyes, she whispered, "Your art made me leave the man who broke me." I held her hand and said, "Then we both survived." Later that night I walked home beneath the stars. No cab, no phone in hand. Just me and the city, and the hum of a future that no longer scared me. People always think healing is about finding someone new. But real healing is when you stop needing to be found. When you learn that solitude isn't punishment, it's permission. To rebuild. To breathe. To bloom. Sometimes I still think of him. Not with pain. Just with distance. Like a fire I once stood too close to. Warm at first. Deadly by the end. I remember the way he kissed my forehead. The way he whispered, "I love you," while already building a lie. But I also remember how I walked away. How I didn't let that fire consume me. And if you ask me now, if I believe in love after betrayal, I do. But not the kind that begs or breaks. I believe in the kind that feels like coming home. To yourself. The final painting in my collection was different. A woman standing in front of a mirror. No lover. No flowers. No storm. Just her. Looking back at her reflection. Smiling. And beneath it in bold brushstroke I wrote. She wasn't waiting for a new beginning. She became one.